Good morning, everyone, and welcome to American Scouser's Morning Coffee or Tea with American Scouser. It's Friday, TGIFF. Kermit is in the house. He's happy, very excited. A lot to get to. He was like, man, it's a busy morning, and it is. So we have our Friday crew from last week. Again, John is with us doing his reverse psychology, working like a charm. So you're going to do the same shit with center back today.
Right. No, you know what? Let me just, ride on this while it's on a high. We're not going to win the league this year. There's absolutely no chance. We're not going to win the Europa League. We're not going to win the FA Cup. We're not going to win a trophy this year. So let me just get that out of the way. But yeah, glad it worked. Glad we're getting someone in. And excited for the long weekend, I guess.
Yeah, a lot to get to this morning. Like I was like, oh, we might look at that. Like yesterday, I think in the morning, I was kind of like, planning out pre-production. Imagine that. I was like, we'll talk about this, but then in 24 hours, all those. That's why I don't normally do production. And Kazi is with us, trying to close the Saudi window. Is there like a humid breeze coming from there? What's going on?
I feel like it's just me and Jürgen just like setting the revolt of like close the window, flag in the ground kind of thing. But yeah, please, 7 days is going to feel like 7 weeks, I think.
7 days? You wish.
April.
3 weeks, isn't it?
No, September the 7th for Saudi.
Oh, I thought it was the 20th. Wasn't he saying last week is the 20th?
The 7th.
Please, Timmy, do not want us to go.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't want to
of...
crush hopes over here, but Serzi is with us. Alan, the gang is gathering around. Lot to get to. And Chris is here, only here to listen to Kazi say, yes, Kazi, say the name.
Granvenberch.
Is it Birch or is it Burke?
I am not Dutch.
We'll have to find out. We'll have to do like a sub-slide thing. I got to go to Google and figure this one out. Because it's Dutch, so I don't know if the R is silent like German. So like my Dutch is a little rusty. So let's start with the transfer stuff. And then obviously the Europa League teams, opponents, the groups are determined. So we'll talk about that. And obviously we'll talk about the weekend. So let's start with Granvenberch, or Granvenberch, as Kazi calls him. What do you make of the move? It is not official yet. So I am really, really, really freaking hesitant to even like talk about it and jinx this thing. But hypothetically, if we sign this guy, Kazi, what do you say? I mean, it seems like an ideal move that we wanted all along. And first time in a long time where we're rumored with a guy for months and it actually happens.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm super excited for it. To be honest, I really am. I don't think it's kind of worked out for him at Bayern Munich for no really reason of his. Just don't think it's the right fit, which can happen for players, especially young players as well. I think he was high up on Liverpool's list 6 months ago. And I think they were told no all the time by Bayern Munich. And the question always was, hey, if the situation changes, let us know. And we will come in kind of thing for you. And I think that's what's happened. I think his situation changed. I don't think it's worked out for Tuchel this season. I think the Bayern board have kind of give Tuchel the 3 games or 2-3 games to say, if he's going to be playing these 90 minutes, do you fancy him kind of thing? And I just don't think it's worked out. They wanted more of a number 6. So that's why they went for Paulinho out of Fulham. He should be confirmed any moment kind of thing. So I'm super pleased, super excited. It seems like it's a long-term deal for Liverpool and it's a long-term signing. So, and it also helps with that midfield rebuild that we keep talking about. I think we've only got 2 players in the midfield now who are 30 and above, which will be...
Yeah, right. We went from the oldest midfield to youngest midfield in a heartbeat. So, okay, Kazi, then since you said that, let me ask you this. Do you think it's a scenario where Bayern says, hey, are you guys still interested? Or did we call and say, hey, are you guys really not still wanting to sell this guy? Which one?
I think it's probably a bit of both, to be honest. I think it's a bit more, but it's probably the latter.
Well, who picks up the phone first? Let me ask you.
I think Liverpool pick up the phone first.
Okay.
Definitely. I think Liverpool pick up the phone and ask the question because I still think the opportunities is far too big for his age. At 21 with his ceiling that he has, I think even if Liverpool, we were talking, me and John previously, say it doesn't work out. I think it will. Say it doesn't work out in 3 years and you want to sell him. You still probably get your money back at 24 for him.
Oh, easy.
Do you know what I'm saying? So it's a no lose to Liverpool. And again, I think the games are going to be coming around thick and fast. I think, the League Cup is open for Liverpool because of those ties with Newcastle going to City and United Palace and So there's going to be hopefully games there in the League Cup, the Europa League draw, which we'll get onto. So there's going to be games for them to get situated as well. So I can't wait. I'm super excited.
Simon says, has Granvenberch joined Liverpool? He's doing the medical right now. I got my guy right outside the doctor's office, so he's gonna give me a ring the moment this thing is done, so I can actually.
We've got a secret American Scouser informant over there.
Tim knows he's currently doing a colonoscopy. He can't. He knows. The doctor told him, "I've got something right up his behind right now." Yeah, amazing.
We have our guy in there as we speak, but we're hoping nothing is gonna go bad. Like I say, until it's official, man. I had the same thing when the Caicedo thing happened, and I was like, until it's official, let's not get too happy, and we know what happened with that one. So, but John, same question to you. Who do you think picks up the phone first, and what do you think about the hypothetical transfer over here?
Well, I do think Liverpool do pick up the phone first, same with Kazi. We're a little understaffed with midfield, so considering he was a target of ours for the longest time, it was the logical choice to bring him in. I'm a bit surprised, even though we talked about it last Wednesday in terms of who do I want to bring between him and Decore. I'd choose Granvenberch any day. Surprised that Klopp didn't go with another specialist 6, but I'm content with the signing as well, considering he seems like the perfect kind of player that Klopp likes, one that can play and he could just plug and play through multiple positions. And he's at that perfect age, Tim, where we talk about where he's a decent player, where Klopp can possibly mold him into a good, even world-class player. So, I agree with Kazi. It's a pretty much a win-win for us. If he doesn't work out, we could sell him, get our money back. And if he becomes an elite player, then, that's our midfield sorted for the next 5, 6, even 8 to 10 years, I would say. With these guys, 21 years old, man, let's maximize them as much as we can.
I know the way Klopp runs midfield into a ground, you're lucky to get 5 years. I don't care how young he is. Even if it was 12 years old, and by the time he's 18 after playing for Klopp, he'll be dead. But so Kazi, do you think we pick up the phone? Let's go all positive over here then. Do you think we pick up the phone because we do want to get another center back as well, and this guy doesn't count, and at the same time he's he doesn't count against homegrown, so we can still put him in there and go after a center back as well. Otherwise, let's say you went for Decore, which I don't think we were ever going to pay that, mind you. But if you did sign him, you wouldn't be able to sign another center back. Is the optimism there that this phone call was done to be able to leave room for the center back?
I think it's opportunity knocks kind of thing. I think if Liverpool get a phone call right now with a centre half they're interested in for the right price, they sign him. But I don't think they are picking up the calls to clubs actively chasing a centre half. But I think if an agent calls and goes, that Inacio, buyout clause kind of thing is actually only 55 million and not what you think is 80 million, whatever that is, that kind of thing, I think that could happen. I think there's there was a weird rumour a couple of days ago with Ndidi, which made a bit of a weird one. But with Ndidi at 26, and you kind of look and go, he's been poor for 2 years with his injuries as well. He does bits of centre half, maybe kind of thing, something like that. If Liverpool could do it cheap, maybe. But I am the most internal optimist, and I don't think Liverpool do a centre-half now, as much as I want them to. But what Granvenberch allows Liverpool to do, and this is where I think the opportunity knocks kind of thing, he allows other players time to bed in as well. It gives other players, if you are having a poor run of form, because you are new to a team, and they are, like Alexis could fall out of form, and, hopefully not Szoboszlai, of course, that's the one. Endo might take some time to settle in. He just gives us a few more options. And he also gives Bajcetic time. We all believe in Bajcetic to be in the future of Liverpool and being there hopefully for the next 10 years. It gives him time as well to come back. So opportunity knocks, centre half, I think that's the same kind of deal as well. I don't think we're actively calling clubs, but 3 hours to go, if an opportunity knocks and they go, hey, Ndidi's available for 5 million here, we just need them out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping, the optimist in me says, that's why the move happened. That's why the phone call happened. Michael Martin says, show me a Dutch player that's not done well at LFC.
I've just had Jan Kronkamp in the back of my mind there, which has absolutely murdered me. Someone's told me in 2023 at 7 a.m. in the morning, reminded me of Jan Kronkamp. Jesus Christ. He's the only one I can think of off the top of my head.
Ryan says, desperate need for a center back. Any center back. Seriously, any.
I feel that, right? I felt that until the Europa League draw, which we'll get onto, because Kwanzaa's probably going to play every game.
Yeah.
So we're probably going to find out what Kwanzaa's about. So
but
Kwanzaa
even if
goes out.
Kwanzaa plays every game in Europe, who the hell is going to play in the league if something? I mean, you're almost saying then, John, that we might have Kwanzaa future a lot in the Premier League, because let's face it, we all know that Matip, especially Matip, to a certain extent, maybe Gomez is not going to be able to give you week in and week out reliability. And Konate is a question mark. We don't know how long Van Dijk is going to be gone for. Do you think we will get a center back? And do you think we really, really, really need it like Ryan does?
I think first, the answer to the first question is no. I don't think we're going to get one. But the answer to the second question is yes, absolutely. Yes, we do need one. So listen, the Europa League drops favorably for us. We're very fortunate to get this draw, especially in terms of options for our squad, particularly in defense. Yeah. But, like we were talking about last Wednesday, Tim, we saw this coming from a mile away. So it's unfortunate that we're leaving it this late to possibly get an option. And I say possibly with a very negative connotation there because, again, I don't think we're getting any. So in terms of Matip and Gomez, they might not be as reliable as you said, but we kind of have no choice now, do we? But to rely on them.
I don't know. It's just annoying in a sense, though, right?
Yeah.
Like you look at that roster right now, Kazi, and you look at the draw. You're like, man, like the door is open. You look at the League Cup draw. You look at the Europa draw. You're like, man, the door is wide open. Yeah. If you do fork it out, and we kind of show that we do have the money, right? We kind of showed our hand that it is doable if we really want it. I mean, obviously, how much upfront and stuff like that is a different ball game, but we are willing to spend. Like we do have the budget in there, I guess, if the value is there.
Yeah.
And it feels like if you sign a center back right now, even if it's like a 30-40 $million, like reliable, maybe Premier League experience kind of a guy from another team, you are pretty much set, because then you can use Gomez as your backup right back again. You do have a backup for your left back. You have more than enough. You have like a brand new built midfield. You have depth up top. It's almost like, let's go. But that's the only thing. I feel like we're like, let's go. And then you're like, what is that yanking back there? You're like, damn it, no center back.
Yeah. I mentioned this a few weeks ago, probably maybe a couple of months ago on the Discord channel, where I was like, there's actually an argument not to bring in a number 6 for that. If this is before then, don't do a centre half. Because it felt like to me it was more important at the time. But I don't think the club will see it like that. And, you are right. The goal. Gomez has been fit for a while, to be fit. He's just been poor. There's a difference. Gomez has been fit for a while. But Matip, of course, we know what he's like. We also know with this kind of new formation, it's very difficult because they got to kind of cover 2 positions as well, which makes it even more interesting. We already know Konate has more of a knock in him. It seems weird to me that it feels like there's opportunities there for little bits of centre half. I know Spurs are trying to get Eric Dyer out the door, and you can laugh what you like about Eric Dyer. I'm not asking to start football games, especially Premier League games for Liverpool Football Club. But I'm saying, do you do a bit of business there for Eric Dyer kind of thing? You can do a little bit of midfield and defence. Again, a little bit with the Ndidi as your 5th choice option. And I'm not asking him to come in to start games.
He's like Mourinho's favorite player.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like, I just don't know. I don't know what Liverpool are thinking in that sense. Maybe they're just thinking we can get through till January and there's an option there for us then. But as you've just said, the draw's opened right up for us in these 2 competitions. And I want Liverpool to win as many trophies as possible. But maybe they just feel like with Kwanzaa's ceiling is so high. But why let Nat Phillips leave then on loan for 6 months?
Exactly.
Why let him leave unless you've got something up your sleeve? That's the only hope I've got in the back of my head. Because otherwise you just keep Nat Phillips with Kwanzaa and go, you're starting the 6 Europa League games. These are my 4 lads for all the other competitions. But you 2, we are not sending Virgil van Dijk to Austria. We are not sending him. You 2 are going out. And I don't care if I have to fucking play Trent Alexander-Arnold centre half. I don't care. But these 4 are staying. That's the only bit of hope I've got in the back of my head that we might do something.
See, I feel like Phillips, I mean, I know like people love Phillips. Like, he puts his head everywhere, but he, he did not fit the game. So he did not fit how we play.
He's a body though, Tim. He's a body.
But he's a body that doesn't fit. I mean, if you just want a body, you can put anybody in there.
To play Leicester at home in the League Cup. Is he a body to play all the Europa League games? Yeah.
No, not the way you play. I mean, you don't want to change how you play because of the guy.
But I don't think you do. I don't think you need
to. But we had to.
We're playing championship sides in the Europa League. The championships. Let's get it right.
I understand that, but still, this is like gaming. You can't say on Thursday we're playing like this, okay, and then Sunday we'll go back to what we were. Especially when you have a new midfield, everybody's kind of like, you almost have like a new team, which I guess we can talk about that a little bit too. We've done really well in like rebooting the hard drive.
Yeah.
It feels like you look in the front line, it's gotten a lot younger. Right, you have like Nunez, Gakpo, Jota, like Diaz, a lot younger. You look at your midfield now, and that's what's, I guess, in some ways you should be happy with that. But the fan in me says I'm still not happy. I want to get just as young in the back. You think then, John, that they are counting on Kwanzaa, or is this just a matter of we have to count on Kwanzaa to step up and be that player?
Yeah, we do. We kind of have no choice now. Again, it's a lack of foresight from the club where, Konate, Gomez, and Matip have very bad injury records. Credit to Gomez, as Kazi said, he has been fit, and I do think that he should be given the opportunity to start. But what I think is getting lost in the shuffle here, we lost Connor Bradley to a serious injury, right? Everyone was putting Gomez as the right back to Trent. Then the next option at right back to Trent. I thought Bradley could do a job there. Then you move Gomez to center half, his position that he prefers to play. So in terms of like, we could keep Matip, Konate, and Virgil fit for the more important games. Then you got Gomez, maybe Kwanzaa starting the Europa League games. Then you got Bradley covering Trent. So I think that's kind of lost in the shuffle there, how that affects us as well. But yeah, in any shape or form, in any way you look at this, it would make sense to bring in another center half, which I don't think we're going to bring. And we had time. We got no one to blame but ourselves, unfortunately. So.
Yeah, I was personally never sold on Bradley being the backup. I wanted Gomez to be the backup, but now you almost, and granted, we didn't expect Van Dijk to be, not only get a red card, but then keep swearing and get extended games out on top of it. So
the thing with Bradley is, we have to give him a chance at least to show.
Yeah.
Right, like we're not sold on him, but we got to give him a chance at least. And those Europa League games,
I think he would get those chances. There in the Europa, in the League Cup and stuff like that. He might have possibly gotten those opportunities that he's not going to now. I feel like it would still be Gomez getting that chance if he was not getting minutes at center back. Now that he is, he probably would not be the guy when we go away to Austria to play right back or whatever. But another transfer thing is the Mo Salah ordeal. And it's going to probably keep going. That's why Kazi wants the window closed. So Klopp said there are no offers, but then I also read that we rejected a bid that started at 100, goes up to 150 or whatever. But they're like, it's Ittihad, right? Al Ittihad is the one that's going after him. As they were leaving, they did like a villain, like, I'll be back with another offer kind of a thing as they closed the door and left. It's like, yes.
I haven't seen the last of me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So they do that on their way out. So they might be back later on. But it sounds like, especially with our windows being closed, we're going to be like, thanks, but no thanks. Why don't we talk again in June? Right, Kazi? Or is that wishful thinking?
No, that is literally the fact. The problem, the 150 million, by the way, it was 100 million up front, going up to 50 in add-ons, which tells me, which you should have told everyone with the other deals, was that they are one of the PIF-owned clubs, but they might not have the money. And that sounds insane to say, but they might not have the money up front. I think for Liverpool right now, everyone's got a price. People go, no price. They get offered 250 million right now, Liverpool, up front, they accept it. Whether we, so everyone's got a price.
Where is Ben Doak?
No, exactly. Do you know what I mean? Like, literally, Liverpool, if they got offered right, if that deal was 250 million that offer and not 100 up front, Liverpool will go and sign Serge Gnabry tonight. They would just sign Serge Gnabry and just go, you're playing right wing. Or they go into Luis Diaz, you're playing right wing and Darwin's playing left. And we'll go until January and let's have a review. So, but the offer's not there. But that offer that they've offered would still be there next year. It's not like life-changing offer right now. Liverpool will still get 150 million for Salah next year off the same club. So this big thing of Al Ittihad coming back, going, we're going to come back with a new offer of 175. Yeah, we can swallow 25 million because it costs more for Liverpool to be out the Champions League than it does. Liverpool, when we're in the Champions League, go deep. So I think last time, when we got to the final, I think we earned 300 million from being in the Champions League. That's how much Liverpool earn from being TV rights and going all the way that deep. How much does it cost Liverpool to be out the Champions League? And that's what they've got to review with Mo Salah. We still might get in the Champions League without him, because you still might win the Europa League. That's the other thing about this. The Europa League draw now, I know we'll get onto the teams and stuff like that. It opens right up for Liverpool, because that is still a chance to get to the Champions League by winning it. So Liverpool could sell Mo Salah for 250, finish 7th and win the Europa League, and still get to your target, win a trophy and qualify for the Champions League. The Europa League does both. Literally does both.
Yeah.
So the offer's nowhere near enough. I don't think Liverpool sell. There's 7 days to go, according to the Saudi League website. It's September the 7th. According to the Saudi League website, that's when they can register players. So, but we'll see. But it's going to have to be 2 to 250, I think, minimum.
You think if they come with the 2 to 250 now, John, would FSG be like, oh, man, that is a lot of money, and be tempted?
Yeah, knowing those guys, they'd probably find a way to. Look, I know Klopp said absolutely no, right? Yeah. Absolutely no. But I feel like if they sweeten the deal, make it 200 to 250, John Henry himself will fly to Liverpool and have a talk with Jurgen, ask him what are going to be his options, what's his plans if he gets this kind of money, and I think they accept it, honestly, because that is absolutely squad changing. Like, listen, to Kazi's point, we can hold out until January. First of all, when we get to January, we're not going to be with Mo anyway, because he's going to AFCON. So it's kind of like the same deal. So I do think we can hold out, but listen, in terms of squad cohesion, all that, it's a transition. It's a transition year. I do think we should keep our vets in. Mo is one of those leaders. As much as people like to play him down, he is one of those leaders. So I think letting him go as well has that psychological effect to the club that we do not need right now, considering we got a lot of new faces. Yeah. So as much as logical as it would seem to accept the offer, at most we should probably wait until next summer, I feel.
We're sending Michael over there to the negotiating room, because I like this offer. 150 now with a loan back for one final season, or 250 an ego. I like that. Because honestly, if somebody comes with 250, I hate to say it, man, that is hard to say no to.
Of course.
But you would need to, especially the way Klopp came out and be like, nope, end of conversation and stuff. You would almost need Mo to come out and say, yeah, let me go, so that we can kind of go back and say, or Klopp can go back and say, well, if somebody wants to go, we're not going to hold them back and stuff. But so all this goes back to Kazi and Klopp wanted to close the Saudi window. Why would they close the window themselves? And here is the hypocrisy that I do not like we were talking about it before we went live over here, is like, for example, I don't know about the Greek league, for example, but I know the Turkish league also ends after the Premier League and most top European leagues end. Yeah. Somehow the European leagues are okay with that, because what happens is the Turkish league, I'm pretty sure the Greek league as well, we come for the leftovers. And we're like, are you going to finish that? Because we'll take that center back that you don't know what the fuck to do with now, because you waited too long. Oh, you know what? We do need a winger. Why don't we take him for it? So they're totally open with these little minions coming in and eating the leftovers in the back of the restaurants to go into the dumpster of your squad, but not cool with the guy who's going to knock on the front door and be like, I want that thing on the window, and here is the money for it. I find a lot of hypocrisy in there, Kazi.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more with that. I mean, it is a hypocrisy, let's say, because there is a moment where, as you just said, if the Turkish league could afford Mo Salah, they would all be saying the same about the Turkish league. Yeah. So, and it is a hypocrisy because the Premier League feel challenged, because there's other clubs who can pay them that money, and he feels, the players that money, or more money, of course. So they feel seriously challenged by that. I feel like the problem is with the Saudi League, of course, not just the money and, all that kind of deal, because it is so new. We just don't know what it is still yet. We don't know what you are. Are you the new Russian league? Or the Anzi, remember Anzi? When you sound like fucking Samuel Eto'o and Roberto Carlos and stuff, and then that went bust 2 years later, 3 years later. What are you right now? We still don't kind of know what they are. But they are making a lot of noise, and if they want Mo Salah, they have the money to buy Mo Salah, and the hypocrisy is there. I don't know how. They keep mentioning that they want to try and get a club in the Champions League, don't they? That's their big dream, is to get a club in the Champions League. Well, they will have to line up with UEFA, and there'll be a pressure from a lot of leagues to go, their transfer window is going to finish the same as ours. let's get it right now. When the Super League what happened, we tried to break away from UEFA, as everyone knows. UEFA had to bow down to the Premier League, the league's pressure to go, what do you want to come back to us? And what they did was open the Champions League up more to more clubs for more revenue, and there's where we are. And they get more slices of the pie, basically. For their Saudi league to come in, they're going to have to go to the other leagues, like La Liga and the Premier League, and go, what you reckon? And the Premier League are going to go, we want them on the same transfer window as us. That's literally what they're going to say. And now all the other leagues are the same pressure. So that's what's going to have to happen eventually.
And I almost think then they're kind of holding that job. Like, so because they're already, the UEFA said like, no, it's only European teams in Europe. And like everybody gives an awkward look to the Israeli teams in the corner over there because they're in there. So it's just like, don't say anything, like hide behind the counter, like so that nobody sees you. And there's a lot of like teams in Eastern Europe too that, normally we're not in Europe in there. Like basically old like Russian republics and stuff like that. So do you think like the Saudi League is like, because UEFA is going to be like, hey, you guys are going to have to change this. And they're going to be like, well, I mean, if we were in the Champions League, I guess we would have to go with those rules. What are we going to do? You think they're kind of like holding that over as another bargaining chip?
Yeah. Listen, the Saudi League is, in a sense, this is just the first wave of everything that they're going to be throwing at us. And the clubs are adjusting accordingly. Some of them don't know what to do. I do think we're kind of in that position where we lost Hendo and Fabinho, and we're just like, what now? Like, because it was completely out of the blue, right? So in a sense, we didn't know what to do. Liverpool themselves didn't know what to do. So it would be interesting to see how this would affect the entire like continental organization, UEFA, over the next few years. What I know for sure is that UEFA is not averse to getting something more in terms of.
Yeah.
So that I'm confident about. And listen, if the Saudis can give that little something, the adjustments that you and Kazi are talking about, I wouldn't think that it's not impossible for it to happen, maybe as early as the year after next or, season after that. So let's just wait and see, I guess.
Because it looks like at this pace, Kazi, in 3 years, they have a team in there. And 3 years might be a high estimate, right?
Yeah, because money talks. But there's also a part of this as well with the Premier League when you go, well, we don't want any teams in there until you get offered a big chunk of money to play them in there. So this, that's not, you know what I mean? It's like everything. I keep saying this, unfortunately, and I said it on previous podcasts. We support in football the most morally corrupt sport in the world, like literally the most morally corrupt sport
because it has the most money in it, really.
Of course, and it's the best game in the world that's been corrupted, and it's unfortunate, and that's where we all are. People. As you can see right now, from all different parts of the continent of the world, they're sitting on a podcast talking about the sport because that's what's amazing and brilliant about it. It brings people together, but it's still morally corrupt. So we can sit again. Look at if anything hasn't surprised anyone this year is the Jordan Henderson transfer. It's like if anything can surprise you anymore, I don't think it can. Because Jordan Henderson can
Why
go.
do you have to keep bringing that up? I put him back behind me. I forget about it, and you have to freaking bring it back up.
I don't know, bro. And he's still getting picked for England, so there you go. So it just proves that you don't, because it just proves again, it doesn't matter where you play, it doesn't matter who you play for. Jordan Henderson's played 3 games in the Saudi League. The team has picked up 4 points, but don't worry about it. You'll still play for England anyway on the higher stage.
Don't suppose he got
Maguire is in there, and is like there's an indentation of his ass on the bench over there. So
I don't suppose he got picked on the back of what he did compared to what he's doing now, though.
What did he do for Liverpool towards the end? I don't think he was that great towards the end of the last season. I know Liverpool winning games, so I don't think he was that great.
Yeah,
Harry Maguire's a great example.
He's in there mainly for like leadership reasons, or like looking at that squad, they're more going for continuity than form. Like I say, Maguire's in there. Like, how are we evaluating Maguire's form? Because you haven't even seen him play in like months.
But it comes down to the point of, I think he's picked Henderson and someone else, I can't remember. But it comes down to that point, as you just said, it's continuity. The leadership thing, I don't really get. 33 years of age, I don't. Where are the leaders in this team? Where are the young men who are leaders? I see Jude Bellingham going to Real Madrid and dominating. That's a leader. Do you know what I mean? Winning La Liga Player of the Month in your first month of being in the biggest club in the world, at least a one-off. That's a leader. You know what I mean? Trent Alexander-Arnold to me is a leader.
That's the leader on the pitch, not necessarily off the pitch. And maybe you don't need a leader for a guy like Bellingham, but you need a leader for a guy like Caldwell or something. You know what I mean? Like
maybe and maybe that's a thing as well. But I just feel like young men these days, of course, we already, society is going, they should be leaders themselves. You should be able to set your own example and go, I can't let my level drop. You shouldn't need Jordan Henderson shouting at you to not let your level drop in training. You're in the international stage. You should be the best player for your team, or one of.
Yeah, but you can say that for a guy playing for Liverpool too. You shouldn't need Henderson on your ass.
That's my point, though. It's exactly the same thing. You shouldn't need Milner, Henderson. Oh, they set the levels in training. Just set your own level. Where's your own mindset?
Yeah, but it doesn't work like that, man. There's always going to be somebody who's going to drag. You either have people dragging people up, or you have people dragging people down.
Which is insane, though, isn't it? I think that's more of a bigger conversation, isn't it? Because you should set your own level of expression.
Well, in an ideal world, but then I always used to say this when I was in management. You had like assistant managers, and they would be like, when I was a manager, I used to do that. Like they were higher up as like my assistant now, and I was like, well, that's why you're a manager, you're my assistant now, and that dude is still down there. Because he can set his own standard and he can perform without somebody kind of like managing him, if you will. But Gally says the more great players are there, and once the cash starts to flow, it will be banned just like all these clubs have. And I agree, and I think they're really holding this window thing is just another thing they're holding over the heads of Europe and saying like, I mean, we'll adjust once we're in. But until then, they have no reason to.
And Chelsea will go over there and do their pre-season over there next summer and play 3 Saudi Arabian teams.
It'll be nice and toasty over there.
Honestly, they don't care. They'll get 600 million. The world will get out to all the other Premier League clubs. Fucking hell, this is great for the financial fair play. Over there, they paid us 600 million for 3 games in 2 weeks. It was lovely. All the stadiums are air conditioned. And then Liverpool will be over there. And then United will be over there playing pre-season friendlies because you want to. And then they'll sell it as, but it's great to see Benzema and Neymar again play against us, isn't it? Oh.
If you wanted to be upbeat going into the weekend, know that money rules all, people, and everything else doesn't mean anything. So let's go to other things that don't mean a whole lot. Is the Europa draw is here. So we have Lask from Austria, Toulouse, and then we have Lask is third in Austria, I guess, and USG is third in Belgium at the moment. Obviously, too early in the season to look at rankings, but I mean, we know that obviously since they're in Europa, it's not like Anderlecht or whatever you're playing out of, or Club Brugge or something like that. You're playing out of Belgium. You're playing the next tier. Same thing in Austria and same thing in France. What do you make of it, John? How much do you like that?
Listen, I predicted Darwin Nunez to have 25 goals and assists at the start of the year. I'm going to have to bump that up to 30. Listen, all due respect to these clubs, I'm sure they're very professional, but we should be dominating these. Like, even with the rotated side, I feel like we could come out 2-3-0 winners every game. It gives us a good opportunity to focus on the league, considering our first goal should be top 4. So, like, regardless of how much you feel like we could win the Europa League, how high our chances are, I feel like we should sort it out, like, league-wise first, obviously the revenue and everything, and go as high as we can. Yeah. So having our best players fit for every weekend is a big deal, is a big advantage. So really happy with this draw.
So, Kazi, how do you approach this? I mean, you go into this, win your first 2-3 games, and then treat it like a League Cup with the backups, or do you do a mashup throughout and get your players in there? I mean, it's not like you're, as of now, barring injuries, you have like depth throughout. Yeah, it looks like on paper, but we don't know what's going to happen once you get to November and December and stuff. How do you approach it? Do you kind of win the group first and then kick back, or do you kind of, even if it costs you a draw, maybe in a freaking October night in Austria or something like that, you kind of say, whatever, we got rest for the Premier League?
Yeah, I think you win your first 3, don't you? I think that's what it is. You win your first 3 and don't panic. And you should finish top after winning your first 3. And then the other 3 games. What the Europa League allows you to put it, but even winning the first 3 games, you should still win the first 3 games with Kwanzaa playing, with Ben Doak playing. Liverpool should still win the first 3 games with Kostas Tsimikas left back and stuff like that, and Kelleher in goal. So it's very interesting, this Europa League now, because what it allows Liverpool to do with Thiago, Bajcetic, Granvenberch, hopefully, is you probably get them their 20-30 minutes or returning players from injury in those games and go ahead, it's only to Belgium. So it'll be a lovely first-class flight for 25 minutes to Belgium, and then, it's going to be a nice little trip for you. So the nice thing is Liverpool aren't travelling, to the far east of Europe. So it's the best we probably could have got, really. Yeah. The flights are only going to be like an hour and a half. You don't want them on 4 or 5 hour flights flying to the arse end of places. So super pleased. Couldn't ask for a better draw. Because let's get it right. If Liverpool did draw a big club, I know it's difficult in the Europa League, but in that second group, I think like Real Betis and stuff like that, the fans still don't want to lose to them because they feel like, I know Ajax were in the first group, to say Liverpool drew a knife on Ajax. Liverpool still want to beat Ajax. It's Ajax, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there's no names there. Liverpool should go out and just dominate them, as John said. Win your first 3 games, but you should still win your first 3 games with the, with the reserves in, kind of thing.
And I think if you play with reserves, John, even if you get a result like a draw or something like that, like I say, I don't think it would be as much. I don't think we would care as much. It's not like we, I mean, this is a group that you should win, like Kazi is saying, regardless of who's playing in that squad.
Right.
Because your name, especially when they come to Anfield by itself, that atmosphere is going to get you a goal, let's say, or, like a point. So how do you approach it? Reserves throughout, mix, or win in the beginning, all reserves at the end?
Probably a mix as well. I'd say that we'd start some of our biggest guns at Anfield just to get that sure 3 games. 3 games, as Kazi said, is what we need. So obviously we haven't received the schedule yet in terms of we're not going to see who we're going to start with or whatever. But I think it's a mix, especially for example, let's say it starts this week, right? Diaz was subbed off early, so he should start, I feel, midweek. We've got so much rotation options in the attack. That shouldn't be an issue. It's the defense and the midfield that is kind of intriguing to see how Klopp is going to line up. Sorry, excuse me. With defense, I think we have no choice but to rotate. For midfield, in terms of getting these guys minutes, getting these guys accustomed to the system, I think it's very ideal. So I would like to see McAllister and Szoboszlai in sometimes to start games. Maybe get them off at the 60th minute if we're winning 2-0 or something. Because, like I said, these guys are really good, but they're still adjusting.
Yeah.
So the more minutes we could get them, in terms of the system and all that, the better for them. So probably something like that for me.
I think it also depends as well who you play on the weekend, innit? If you're playing on the you playing,
that's true.
Everything away on the weekend, you're like, fuck that, I'm not fucking playing the big boys here. Do you know what I mean? It depends who you go on the weekend. If you're playing Forest at home, do you know what I mean?
I don't know. That's a dangerous game to play, though, isn't it? Especially
I know, because I think it's Everton away, the Europa League 3rd round game, and then Forest at home. So you're maybe you could squeeze, as John said, a couple of first teamers. You're playing Forest at home, that kind of deal. Maybe something along those lines.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good chance to try things too. Sometimes, if you're getting ready for a game, to try to let's see how this works, kind of a deal. I know a lot of managers do that. Klopp not as much, to be honest. But we've seen it, especially when we were making those runs in the Champions League, where you kind of try something slightly a little tweak on the weekend, and you see it midweek in the Champions League. Michael Martin says, when your draw requires Google to look up teams, that's a good draw. I would have to admit, I had to look the Belgian team up. Last I knew, but I had no idea where they are. I mean, it sounded like, oh, it must be, but I had to confirm it to see where the hell.
Yeah, well, and you are right, don't about the tweaks, because I know people don't really like this, but that's a game where you probably put Elliot on the right.
Yeah.
If you're going to do the and go, maybe it's not Doak right now, but we'll try Elliot on the right, and if he goes there and plays well for 3 or 4 games, then that's another option. Where fans will go, Elliot was brilliant in the Europa League on the right, and everyone always worries, you haven't got a Salah replacement. And well, you can have a little look at that in those kind of games.
Yeah, I think it gives you those opportunities to kind of try out different things and little tweaks within the formation and stuff like that. So one thing, still not official, right? I have not heard from the guy outside the doctor's office yet. But I wanted to ask you guys this. Endo, obviously, way too early to judge. I'm shocked that people are already passing judgments on him, with his 10-man performances. But, John, do you think down the road, I mean, Granvenberch is really not a defensive midfielder.
No.
Do you think it's safer to put, if it's not Endo, the ideal 3 right now, in your mind, let's say, if you wanted to predict 5 or 6 weeks from now, is it still Endo, Mac, and Szoboszlai? Or is it maybe Mac at the 6 with Granvenberch and Szoboszlai?
That is a tough question because as much as Endo is
a 4, baby.
Right. And Endo a pure 6. You see, I kind of see Granvenberch being kind of molded like a Wijnaldum, where Wijnaldum was an attacking midfielder when he played Newcastle, when he played with Newcastle before he joined us. So and Gravenberch is taller, like he's more physical. So I think he can actually be molded into a defensive midfielder. Now the question is, would he want to be? Is one, and second, does he have the engine? Does he have the motor? Like I see a lot of his clips, of course, and obviously we shouldn't be basing anything on like those highlight videos because you'd think he's like, Ronaldinho or some shit like that. But in terms of like what he likes to do is progress the ball, be involved in the attack. Obviously, the fab role, the 6 role is hanging back, being safe. It's a little bit tough to ask that from him. So I think if we were going to have him, McAllister, and Szoboszlai at any point, it would definitely be McAllister playing the 6. But I do think maybe give it a few years. Maybe Klopp might convince him. Maybe Klopp might mold him into something of that sort. Because physically, I think he has all the tools as well. Like he's tall. He can move around. He can run, as Kazi loves to say. So, like, listen, wouldn't be surprised if he goes to the 6, but right now, to answer your question, Tim, 5-6 weeks from now, I still think our most balanced midfield would have Endo at the 6 and McAllister and Gravenberch interchangeable with Big Dom over there.
I think my thing is, Kazi, like it's a lot easier for a more mature player to be, I got to sit back. Because even Mac, when he was playing 6, you can see sometimes he would like kind of like go into territory like, oh shit, I got to get back, be back into my holding spot. I feel like it's a lot easier for a more experienced guy to do that as opposed to a younger guy. Or are we giving like the 3-4 years too much credit there?
Yeah, maybe a little credit. I just feel like the Endo situation is really interesting because Liverpool's next 4 fixtures are Villa at home, Wolves away, West Ham at home, and then Leicester in the 3rd round of the Cup. Liverpool should expect 4 wins. Now, what that allows Liverpool to do, because after those fixtures, by the way, I'll just name you the next 3, Spurs away, Brighton away, and Everton at home. So what those 4 fixtures allow you to do is literally give you an opportunity to see what the fuck Granvenberch, to see what he wants to do. I agree with John. I think it's going to be like a hybrid 6 and 8 kind of thing. But also people forget that Bajcetic is still there, and he's still a Liverpool player. And he was Liverpool's best player for 3 months when we were literally in the doldrums of despair in that January, February time.
Is that, do you think, why he was the best player, though?
Yeah,
that's my only fear, I guess.
Yeah, maybe because everyone else was garbage and he just stood out and he was the best of the bad bunch. But,
that's what I'm worried about, I guess. Yeah.
But I will also say that he's an 18-year-old kid and I will take him just for that Bruno Fernandes giving up skill in the 7-0 win. So when he just but what he allows Liverpool to do there, the Gravenberch, the most balanced midfield is super interesting, the question actually. Because I think it probably still is Endo or Bajcetic. I still think you want a 6. We are so attacking.
Yeah.
We are like literally the options are endless going forward now.
Yeah.
It's actually weird now we're sitting here going, hey, we have 8 midfielders, 8, 9 midfielders who all could possibly start. People forget how good Curtis Jones was towards the end of the season.
Well, I don't know about Thiago counted in there, so
I was about to ask actually.
7.5 midfielders, yeah. But it's like people forget how good Curtis Jones was. We have like 7 or 8 midfielders now where you can probably look at the 8 midfielders and when they're all fit and go, I don't care what 8 start. Liverpool have never been in that position, by the way. Even in Liverpool in their height of winning everything, we have never looked at our 8 midfielders and go, I don't care what 8 start because all of them are really good. You know what I mean? So that's super interesting for Liverpool. But the next 4 fixtures will answer a lot of questions for Liverpool because we should be in the next 4.
Now that you guys mentioned it, and I feel like I have to bring this up. Like I know we were talking about Thiago. He's injured.
Leave him alone.
No, I'm not gonna tear him down because I genuinely see him as an option. So I guess my question for you guys is, if he does come back healthy, you see him taking Szoboszlai McAllister role, or you got Klopp playing him as that holding? Because I feel like we're pretty stacked now with those 2 8s, where Thiago would make more sense to be placed maybe in the holding. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah,
and I haven't seen him in so long. I kind of like forgot, but I really think he's still 4 months at least, Kazi. I almost feel him coming in either to break open a defense when we're struggling or hold the ball to close out the game where we're not struggling when we have the lead. I just don't see him starting until God knows when.
Yeah, I think I probably agree with you there. I agree with John though. People forget that he was man of the match in the Champions League final, playing the six.
Yeah.
I think people forget that, and it's like, and Liverpool. I think we kind of forget as well. He played in that six for Bayern as a double, basically alongside.
Like it was a double pivot. Yeah,
and Liverpool's new formation is a lot more the double pivot, especially on the ball. So I agree with John. I think he sees him more as a 6 option than an 8 option. Now, I think he can probably look and go, if I can get another 12 months out of Thiago with Bajcetic and Endo, especially Bajcetic, and go, and you're going to just stick to him like glue of everything that you need to know kind of thing. But I agree with John. I do see him as a 6. But I also agree with Tim in that I don't think he'll be starting many games for Liverpool. But if you're asking for that leader in the Europa League games as well, then maybe you do send him out and go, you're the leader here. Do you know what I mean? It'd be lovely for you to finish off with a couple of more trophies, and that could be his way home, unfortunately.
I hate to say it, and I know Anana's going to hate hearing this, but with that, while that window is still open and the nice, humid Saudi breeze is coming in, I would not mind them coming in the last minute and saying, like, how about 25 for Thiago? And we're like, sounds good. We'll use that in January.
Is 25 your sale? Is that the minimum?
I'll take 25. Yep.
Is that the minimum though for you, or would you sell them for less?
I wouldn't sell them for less.
Yeah, I think you can. I agree with you. I think 25 isn't. You probably have to do it for 25. But I also think it comes down to the point: Liverpool are not in the Champions League. We have to get back there. It costs us more to be out the Champions League than in it.
I'm not selling him for the money. I mean, we're kind of like already struggling trying to see what he would be. I mean, you named all those options. If you don't have any injuries, I don't know how many minutes he's going to contribute. 25 to me would be a price almost like the 40 for Fabinho, where you're like, man, you can't say no to that.
Yeah. I think 25. I think we probably all go with 25, only because we just done Granvenberch. If we didn't, I think we'd all go.
Yes.
Now we've done Granvenberch. Yeah, I couldn't. Yeah, you're probably right. 25.
I guess Gallagher looks to be going to Spurs. I know Brendan Jansen, what was that, 40 or somewhere around there? 45. I mean, today is going to be nuts. It's almost like we should get together sometime tomorrow. I thought the window was going to be over. We even talked about like basically to evaluate it today, but looks like we got some time to go. It will be a crazy last few hours over here. But let's do this before we go. If the window ends as is now with nope, nothing from my guy outside the doctor's office yet. But if that goes through, we sign Granvenberch. Give me a grade for this offseason, John, out of 10.
7. I still feel like we need a center half. If we had a center half, it would be like a 9 or a 10. So 7. Granvenberch is a good option. Covers the entire midfield. He could be molded into more of a specialist role as he gets older. Obviously, Szoboszlai, getting him in, the potential to be Kevin De Bruyne 2.0. Like, I hope I didn't just jinx him there, but I see him like molding into like our best midfielder for the next decade, I would say. I mean, I know you said Klopp loves to run people to the ground, but we really got a gem there. And of course, McAllister, Endo. Not the signing we expected, but he'll do a job for us. So definitely a 7 for me. If we somehow get a center half, then this window is going to be perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, we enter the offseason, to be fair, saying we need to redo this midfield. This midfield needs a redo.
Yeah.
So if that was your goal, I guess it is hard to give a low grade right now, right, Kazi? I mean, you're looking at this. Even a Mr. FSG out guy like you, probably, what grade do you give to this off season?
I think John was being slightly harsh. I would go with an 8. I think I genuinely would. I think it's been a great window for Liverpool.
Damn, you must have been really harsh, John, because if you're getting an 8 out of Kazi,
it's a big 8. It's an 8 out of me. It's like getting a 15 out of Tim.
Yeah, I know. It's the greatest scale.
That's why Kazi's here, man. We balance each other out. So.
I'll get the FSG out soon. But yeah, I mean, I think an 8, mate. I think only because the talent that we've signed and the age profile, I don't think we thought it was possible. I remember we were going through that suicidal spell after we didn't sign a midfielder for 6 weeks and we sold Henderson and Fabinho, and everyone was going, "What are we doing?" And I was very much in the Discord saying, let's just wait till the end of the window and see what happens, because you can't judge it right now. I think, as you know, John just went through, Alexis looks like a 35 million quid looks like a steal.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
You know, Szoboszlai, even a 60 million looks like a steal. You know, the Endo situation for 18 million pound, by the way. Let's just get that right. It's not like you're paying 40 million for this 30-year-old. Just to add a bit of experience and someone that you can kind of trust. And then hopefully Granvenberch, which is, to me, has a ceiling as high as anyone in the world. Still, probably has a ceiling that, you know, Liverpool have, I think I put it in Discord, for those 4 signings that we've did, Chelsea have paid more for Saicedo and Lavia. And we've signed
just for Lavia. I mean, we were talking about that. That's how I was thinking of like what I would give. And if you look at it, I graded higher than if we just signed Lavia at the time, because you got Endo and Gravenberch for actually less money.
Yeah, exactly.
Than you would have paid Lavia.
And I do think Liverpool have kind of not surprised themselves because they can't have been played into this position with the Fabinho offer. I think we all agree that Fabinho wasn't a part of this business. I think if they could get the kind of money they did for Henderson, they would do it anyway. But I think Liverpool have kind of surprised themselves, I think. And what it's allowed Liverpool to do is just give us some breathing space. Like, I don't think Liverpool signed a midfielder for 4 years now, probably. I think this is our midfielders going forward for 4 years with Bajcetic. You know what I mean? With that being that 6 going forward after Endo leaves. So it gives Liverpool breathing space to go next year. Hey, a couple of centre-halves and a right winger if Salah leaves, and let's go. But it also gives Liverpool a great chance. I think Liverpool win the league anyway. But it gives us a great chance to go. I would put our midfield up right now against anyone in the league and say we've got as good as midfield as anyone. I
think potential-wise, right? Like we still need, you feel like a couple months for them to find themselves.
Yeah.
But potential-wise, yeah. I mean, I can't think of a whole lot other ones. Obviously, we're like a little biased, but in terms of goes back to what you were saying, Kazi, in terms of ceiling of some of those players. Because as good as Szoboszlai is, he's so freaking young still.
Yeah. I think, and that's my, you know, if you look around the league, especially, you know, I'll put my midfield against Arsenal's, especially. City, De Bruyne is injured, so you're having Rodri, Bernardo Silva, and one other. And I'll put my midfield up against anyone. So I think we have the best keeper in the world. I think we have the best strike force in the world, the best attacking 5 options in the world. Liverpool can do anything this season, anything that they want to. Liverpool, as you just said, Tim, with the ceiling, a couple of months, Liverpool just keep getting over the line in games. Just keep doing it. What you're doing. Yeah. Just keep doing what you get over the line, beat Villa 1-0, and then just go, we're over the line again, we've got another 3, and keep yourself in touch. Get to Christmas time when you're 4 points off City and go for it.
Speaking of Villa, before we wrap up, let's roll with some early predictions. We will be up in the Crackle Down for our pre-match, mind you. So stay tuned for that. We'll be on 45 minutes or so before we go live. Once the squads are out, I don't know. Well, let's ask you then, John. Do you expect any surprises? I think we know the back 4. Do you expect any surprises? I think like up top is probably the big question is going to be, is Nunez is going to be out there?
Right.
So what do you expect lineup was? Early prediction, give me a lineup and a final score.
Lineup, Matip, Gomez for sure. Midfield, I feel like Klopp would just go with the same 3. We haven't played them in an actual like 11v11.
Let's see if they finish with 11.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to seeing how those 3 are gonna, gel with each other. Up top is the big question here, but I'm gonna go conservative and still start Gakpo because it's always nice to have that ace in the hole in your back pocket with big Darwin Nunez coming in to wreck shit up if things aren't going your way. In terms of a prediction, I'm gonna go with Sparky here, 3-1 win as well. We're not keeping that clean sheet.
Man, everybody's rolling with my 3-1 over here. Yes, that's my standard issue home game prediction. Yeah. But yeah, so you are sticking with this. You're basically going with Galley over here. Same lineup, plug in get the Van Dijk out of there and plug in Gomez.
I just love the build up when Gakpo is there. Like we didn't play too bad, against Newcastle, even though we conceded 1. Obviously, the entire thing with Virgil kind of screwed things up, but like I do love how we approach the game when with Gakpo. Nunez is still as good as he was last weekend. He's still a question in terms of build up, in terms of pressing, in terms of out of the ball. So yeah, definitely still the same lineup for me and the 3-1 win.
Yeah, I'm a little torn on this one. Freaking Emery knows how to kind of pack up against us, so yes. I feel like Gakpo is key in that. And really, we don't know how Villa is going to approach this. Knowing Emery, he's going to play it safe against us at home first and try to counter.
Before you go to Kazi as well, I do think that Villa is the perfect game to come next after our win against Newcastle. So we're kind of riding on a high, and we don't kind of slack off. What I was telling you last Wednesday, it's not a trap game. Like, because last year I remember when we beat City 1-0, everyone's we're gonna go back and challenge for the league again. Then we lose to freaking Bournemouth, was it, for 1-0?
Was it Bournemouth? Was it Forest? Yeah, exactly.
Right. Like,
that's a great point. That is a great point.
We lose to a bottom feeder team here. At least with Villa, we know they're dangerous, so we have to lock in. So that's big for me.
Yeah, shameless plug. We were talking about this on the panel show on like Wednesday evening because we had like Shay from Villa as well. And yeah, great point, because I'm on the same page. I'm happy that we're playing a team that's going to be a challenge and that we have to be careful for. And having seen how we started the last two games, how we finished the last game, I'm hoping we kind of like enter this game with a lot more focus. Having done that, been there, done that. I mean, we know how we started the Bournemouth game at home and everything too. Let's hope we start with that like intensity right off the bat, and that's like how we finished the Newcastle game kind of deal. But I do agree with you in the lineup as well. I think because they're going to pack back, I do like Gakpo better. If they were going to come at us, I would say put Nunez over there to scare him, to hold him back, because they don't push up too high. But at the same time, I think if we're going to have to break him down, I think I would rather have Gakpo there. But I am going with the 3-1 win as well. Let's double up on that. Kazi, what do you have?
Darwin Núñez starts, definitely. And the reason I say that is it gets to the point where if you're trying to give your strikers confidence, there's no one more confident in the club right now than Darwin Núñez. And if you don't give him a start, when does his start come? I know that is like a weird analogy to say, but when you have to, Wolves away, early kickoff, maybe, just going back to them, maybe, I don't know, but I feel like there has to be reward for good play eventually. Mm-hmm. You have to be reward. That's why I don't expect Elliott to start, but there has to be a point where you got to go, can we get Elliott at Wolves? Because Elliott's been excellent since he's come on for the last couple of games. Mm-hmm. There has to be a reward for good play. So I think that's why he does Darwin. And I also think what Darwin gives you, first of all, it gives the fans a lift. And number two, I think he can set, because he is a bit mad, if he does something in the first couple of minutes that gets Liverpool a big chance, it stops those slow starts that we've been having, because it sets the incentive to go, fucking hell, we're in here. We're in with Darwin here, and just keep feeding the ball. And I think and Tim, I know you've been very vocal about this in the Discord regarding Liverpool's slow starts. And I think he can stop that a little bit if he does go and does, something Darwin is in the first 5 minutes and do something that Darwin does. So I do Darwin for Gakpo.
See, I'm that's the fear. Like, it's like one of those things where I'm like, you're right. You're right too. Because I can see both sides of the thing with Nunez. Yeah. Because I could also say, in terms of, it's a good guy to bring off the bench to get the crowd back in the game if you have lost the crowd as well. Because now you lose that. I don't think you get that if you introduce Gakpo or Jota off the bench. And the second part that scares me is you start him. If he does not score and if he does not perform well, you almost like set him back another 4 or 5 weeks now by saying, well, I guess you were not ready for a start. And I get worried about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but the other part of this, though, say if he does Gakpo, brings Darwin on, Darwin wins the game, all the fans sit there and go, Klopp got the team wrong. We'll all sit there in the post-match and go,
yeah, but will he care as long as we win?
Of course, but I mean, that's how people think, though.
I hear you.
The manager got that wrong there, didn't he? Why didn't he start?
Did he convince you, John? Are you starting Nunez or are you sticking with Gakpo?
I'm sticking with Gakpo still. I love the idea. I love the idea of having just something in your back pocket in case shit goes wrong. So Nunez coming in like a break glass in case of emergency option is very ideal for me. But again, with you, Tim, I see both sides as well. I wouldn't be surprised if Darwin starts, even though I chose Gakpo to start, because
I don't think I'm going to be like, what the fuck, or I see it, but I think our scenario is a bit more, maybe more cautious with, I feel like it's handling Darwin with more caution as opposed to saying, I think this was a good way to show Darwin you can come off the bench and still make an impact and win games for us, and slowly build himself. I would be really afraid to start him not perform, yank him for Gakpo or Jota, they come in and score. I feel like if confidence and this kid is not, that's what he's lacking, I feel like you kind of crush him and set him back like another month and a half. I guess that's my only concern. But like I say, I hear what you're saying, Kazi, where you're like, he's on a high, bet on the hot guy and say, hey, you keep going.
Yeah, I think, and that's completely fair what you're saying in terms of the confidence and dragging him off. There's also a sit-down chat then to Darwin and go, well, you were garbage last time I started you. And then you've got that to go back to Darwin and go, well, there's my case study. I started you against Villa and you were garbage. So you were great off the bench. So there's your case. That's also a Jurgen Klopp case study, which you can present to Darwin, can't he? When Darwin goes, where's my start? And he goes, well, I'll give you one.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, when the lineup comes up, that's the first thing I'm looking at. I mean, to see, because I agree. I think the midfield stays the same. Let's see what they do against, if they stay as 11 kind
I'll
of.
I'll go 1-0 Liverpool, by the way.
I think 1-0?
1-0, yeah.
You're gonna kill me, man.
Jeez.
Too early on a Sunday to be like that. Okay. Well, either way, we're getting the 3 points. I guess I'll live with it as long as we're like racking up the 3 points. But we'll be back right before the game over here with the pre-match. We'll see if Nunes is there or he's not there. I don't think we were expecting any other crazy surprises, but you never know. Maybe Nunes starts on the left.
Still
nothing from our guy outside the doctor yet. No,
the doctor is still there. He said he just pulled out the colonoscopy tube and he's good.
He just poked his head in the room and they just kicked him out. So yeah, it's still going on. He's still putting his shit back on. So let's hope that goes through and we get him across the board. And yeah, it should be a crazy few hours. It sounds like none of us are expecting something to happen, but our reverse psychologist over there, that could also mean something will happen. So let's stay tuned and then we'll have a good chat, I'm sure, if nothing else, on Monday about who did what over the deadline. But have a great Friday. Have a great weekend, everybody. See you guys.